And thank you for being here at CSL Boulder Valley, this amazing community in Lafayette, Colorado. This is what I call it Zoom church, which is a slang term, I guess. The accurate term is community connections. And one of the reasons we call it this is that we have a Zoom room after I do this short little talk, and we get together and we share whatever's on our heart. And it's a great way to connect with the community. It's a great way. Look at you, Kathleen's saying hi to Pete. They're a couple, by the way. Yeah, so anyway, welcome to CSL Boulder Valley. Thank you for being here. I'm going to do a short prayer, and then I'm going to start my talk. So I invite you to do what you do to prepare yourself for prayer. It seems like lately I've been making that noise, that that's my prayer noise, my invitation to drop in. That is a noise that I make that alerts all the systems. Hey, it's time to pray. And part of this process is I invite circumstances or doing this or the list or anything that's happened this morning. I invite all that stuff off to the side. And I invite you to do the same. Continue breathing, and as this breath of spirit moves through me, I give great thanks for this community called CSL Boulder Valley, this amazing group of people that comes together, this amazing group of people that has open arms. These open arms are an invitation for anybody in this community, anybody online, to come play, to come partake, to come dive deep into that exquisite presence and oneness that is deep inside of you, to say yes to that divine manifestation of spirit that is inside every being. I bless every being here. I bless every being that's watching this recording. And I open up this space for your presence to flow, for your listening through presence to come to the forefront. Behind all this prayer is that mixture, that sacred, alchemical mixture of love and law. And I release this prayer into that exquisite love and law now. And I invite us to say together, and so it is. Very good. If it works for you, if you could mute as I'm doing my talk and my slide presentation, I'd appreciate it. I am going to go ahead and share the screen and bring up my my talk. And I'm going to remember to hit the little box that says share sound down in the corner so you can hear me. And I'm going to just do a little more computer magic here. I'm going to make that small so I can see. Excuse me. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start the slide presentation. And the beginning slide here is this extraordinary song and music by Karen Karsh. And Catherine Snyder created a beautiful video with it. And this is how we start our community connection slideshow.
This is our place, come on in. Our place, so glad you're here. everybody's welcome. We see God on every face. Love lives here in this place. Welcome to our place, our sweet place.
Love lives here at CSL Boulder Valley. That is one of the bylines, one of the drop downs for CSL Boulder Valley Teaching Chapter is that love lives here. Part of this ability to love ourselves and love all other people is being open to lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer people, and anybody else. See, there's probably a couple of hundred gender expressions on the planet. And we're just now, in this culture at least, we're just now cracking open to being open to these 200 different gender expressions. And I want to share a few terms with you here. So terms can be a paradigm or an opening to a new way of being. Terms can be an access to information and ways of being that might be new. So I'm going to share a few terms here. The first term is gender dysphoria, and it's recently a psychological disorder. Gender dysphoria refers to the experience of suffering or impairment due to the misalignment of one's physical characteristics with one's gender identity. See, there's quite a few folks on the planet right now that are born with the sexual equipment, if you will, of maybe more feminine or more masculine, and the hardwired way of being inside of them, the way their brain functions, the way their emotions function, is not that. And this can be called gender dysphoria, when there's a disconnect between the sexual equipment and our way of being. An example of this is a transgender man may experience dysphoria because of the pitch of his voice due to the association of high voices with femininity only. And when I found this one, it made me laugh and giggle. The next one's called gender euphoria, and it fits perfectly for CSL. CSL is about possibilities. CSL is about growth and development. CSL is about noticing the joy and the awe that is at the core of who we are. And that's what this is. Gender euphoria is the joyful experience of one's characteristics aligning with their gender identity. For example, a transgender woman may experience gender euphoria when she wears a dress or is addressed as ma'am by a stranger. So the next term I want to share is called passing. And this is the ability to present one's gender such that they are automatically perceived as that gender. An example is a trans man passes as male when he's seen and referred to as a man by strangers without having to disclose his gender identity. And there's a huge caveat with this. People who are trans don't have to pass. And in fact, it's super important to not expect people who are trans, a trans man or a trans woman, to be able to pass. In other words, to be able to, no one can tell that they're trans. See, that old way of being, that old way of thinking that someone who has male orientation or female orientation has to have only X, Y, and Z. For instance, a man has to be strong and brave and be in control all the time and not listen very well. All those come from toxic patriarchy or poisonous patriarchy. There's no onus on trans folks having to pass. And I want to share a story about that. So I worked at Mile High Church for 2.5 years in the facilities department. I was a janitor. And one of the things I did for about a year and a half was I would get onto the campus at 5 o'clock in the morning and I'd go around and open up all the buildings and I'd make sure everything was working and I'd start the coffee. And in the community center, there was this little cafe and there was volunteers that worked at the cafe to run the cafe. And I was always in and out of the community center, checking the coffee and emptying the trash and making sure everything was humming in the facilities department. And I had this friendship, this casual friendship with this person named Robert. And I remember one Sunday, I walked in and I, hugged Robert like I did almost every Sunday. And I noticed that Robert was wearing earrings. And as I was hugging Robert, she whispered in my ear and she said, "James, I want to be called Christine from now on." And when she said that, this energy moved through me. And I whispered back something like, "Thank you, Christine, for modeling your authentic expression." And she gave me this big old hug. She got seen. I saw her and I knew who she was and I honored her. Well, over the next several months, Christine would come in on Sundays to volunteer, and sometimes she would be wearing a scarf and the rest of her clothes were male-oriented clothes. And the next Sunday she'd come in and she'd be wearing eye makeup and wearing the rest of her clothes were male-oriented clothes. What Christine was doing was she was transitioning from male to female inside this safe environment. See, Mile High Church is a CSL, just like CSL Boulder Valley. And everyone is welcome. Everyone was welcome there, and everyone is welcome here. And that process of transition, someone moving from male to female or female to male or whatever other gender identity they want to claim, it's a long process. And when there's an environment that's safe for that long process to take place, it's a huge gift to people. It's a huge gift saying, yes, we honor all of who you are. We know, Christine, that you're feminine inside your body and you were born with male genitalia. We love you, Christine. So another term is called cis, CIS. And it's a term applied to those who are not trans and therefore less likely to experience the misalignment of their gender identity and assigned sex at birth. It's a matter we do not control, yet one that continues to frame who is normalized or stigmatized in our culture. See, it takes some work to shift from the male or female only paradigm, that paradigm of duality. It takes some work to bend our mind. It takes practice. It takes work to shift our way of being, to honoring all people, whether they're queer or transgender or bisexual or gay or lesbian or one of the other 200 gender identities. So this is fun. I saw this on Facebook. Drag queen Flamey Grant tops the Christian music chart. She had the most famous song, the best-selling song on the Christian music chart. And Flamey Grant is a drag queen. So part of this letting go of the binary, letting go of the duality-based female, male only gender framework is about being okay when someone like Flamey Grant is on TV, or we're walking down the street and Flamey Grant walks by. Part of our work is to notice our internal judgments, to notice that we want to maybe make Flamey Grant wrong. Or maybe, we've done enough work that we can welcome Flamey Grant into our culture. So a powerful teacher, I think this was a couple years ago, Amy Grant. Amy Grant is a Christian singer. She has this amazing sacred voice. And she announced that she was going to host her lesbian niece's wedding at her house because she's a good, loving Christian. Her message of love for all is currently breaking the Christian internet. When Amy Grant announced that wedding that was going to happen at her house because her niece was lesbian, it rocked the Christian world. It rocked the whole world. Amy Grant was modeling for us that she was welcoming not only of her niece, but she was welcoming her niece being a lesbian. And she was going to support her niece inside of this wedding. See, that's letting go of the binary. That's noticing our internal duality-based, female, male only gender framework. Amy Grant is a powerful teacher for us, just like Flamey Grant is a powerful teacher for us. So our language can create access or it can create walls. There have been walls erected to inhibit our comprehension of who and what we are. All of us through time have created these labyrinth walls inside of us. And also our culture has created these labyrinth walls around us. In some ways, these walls are a work of art. In other ways, it is a hard line of separation from an integral feeling with all life. We enter the worlds of duality and we separate from one another, and we separate from ourselves. We experience the separateness within our body-mind. One of the invitations on the table is to notice those labyrinth walls that we have inside of us, and to notice those labyrinth walls that we might have grown up with from our family or our religion of birth, our school, our friends, the messages that we got on screen time. As we soften those labyrinth walls, our quality of life gets richer. When we're not judging ourselves or judging other people, a freedom arises and our worldview expands. When we have a larger worldview, more possibilities can arise. When we're inside those labyrinth walls, we only see a few possibilities. As we do our work, as we grow, as we expand, more and more beauty and light and possibility flows from deep within inside us, and we can see the light and love around us more and more. I just realized something. I watched this is an aside, by the way. I watched one of my recordings a couple weeks ago, and I noticed that my face kind of scrunched up sometimes. And I just noticed my face was scrunched up as I was talking about those labyrinth walls. So I'm going to practice relaxing my face, maybe smiling more, rather than having my face all scrunched up. So where did LGBTQ plus bashing or making LGBTQ plus folks wrong come from? So there's two deep parts in this culture, and probably most other cultures on the planet: colonialism and poisonous patriarchy. And these have enforced and propped each other up. They've reinforced and normalized for hundreds, if not thousands of years, these outdated and archaic practices at the core of LGBTQ plus bashing. So colonialism is inherited. And it's a practice of one country taking another country over politically and economically. And this has been happening for I say tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of years. I say that one group of people wanting to take another group of people over and to dominate the second group of people is hardwired inside of humans. I think it's an ego expression. Another piece is poisonous patriarchy or toxic patriarchy. And it's an assault on women, and it's engendered through the wounding of men. Patriarchy is the poison that supposedly privileges men, but only to the extent to which they can successfully close off their hearts. There's an amazing author named Bell Hooks, and I read one of her books researching toxic patriarchy, and she talked about how patriarchy is handed down from generation to generation. And a big piece of it is to train men specifically. Women get trained this way too, but train people how to lock their emotions deep inside of themselves. Bell talked about how as a little boy, and little girls too, as little people, we're just this vibrant being where, all we want to do is play and love ourselves and love other people. And our culture and our family teaches us to lock our hearts closed. That locking of the heart is the first, or one of the first pieces for poisonous patriarchy starting to take somebody over. In the patriarchy, men are dominant, but only under the condition that they behave in a closed off and emotionally inaccessible way. As I was looking for slides to put with this, I didn't know what to do. Like, I didn't want to put something icky up there. So I found this one. And this is Martin Luther King saying, "I have decided to stick with love. Hate is too great a burden to bear." See, poisonous patriarchy is inherited hate that we learn from our family and culture. I invite us to open our hearts, say yes to that intrinsic love and light inside of us. So there's political pressure on the LGBTQ plus folks right now. Data indicates that 82% of transgender individuals have considered killing themselves, and 40% have attempted suicide, with suicidality highest among transgender youth. LGBTQ youth are not inherently prone to suicide risk because of their sexual orientation or their gender identity, but rather placed at higher risk because of how they are mistreated and stigmatized in society. More than 50% of transgender and non-binary youth in states across the US seriously considered suicide in the past year, according to a new survey data on worsening LGBTQ plus youth mental health crisis, on a health crisis. The ACLU is tracking 385 anti-LGBTQ plus bills in the US. Gay pride is important because someone tonight still believes they're better off dead than being gay. It speaks to that 50% suicide rate. See, even before all this political unrest, trying to legislate people's authentic expression, trans youth and folks who are gay or lesbian or, bi, whatever, they had a really hard time. And as this political pressure ramps up, there's just more and more pressure on LGBTQ plus folks. So this is a transgender suicide hotline number. And if you want, I can put this in the in the chat for people moving forward. I have in my phone, I have suicide hotline numbers that I keep on speed dial. I can access them really quickly, and I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to put this one into my phone as well. And I invite you to have this at your fingertips too. You have to use some discernment. You don't want to just be, having conversations with people about, oh, you need to call this phone number. No, it's not like that. It's really about having this information at your fingertips in case someone asks you, or in case someone shares with you that they might be thinking of taking their life. Teaching kids about frogs isn't grooming them to become amphibians. Reading a book about Mozart won't transform your kid into a musical prodigy. Acknowledging that some kids have two dads isn't trying to make them gay. It's helping them to learn about the world around them. Jesus at the gay bar. He's here in the midst of it, right at the center of the dance floor. Robes hitched up to his knees to make it easy to spin. At some point in the evening, a boy will touch the hem of his robe and beg to be healed, beg to be anything other than this. And he will reach his arms out, sweat damp and weary from dance. He'll cup this boy's face in his hand and say, my beautiful child, there is nothing in this heart of yours that ever needs to be healed. This talk is about honoring all people, welcoming all people into our circles of friends, into our community here at CSL Boulder Valley. And a great way to prep yourself for this, to open the blinders, to crack the labyrinth walls that are inside of us and are around us, is to notice those inherited patterns from the culture or the internal judgments that kick in. Noticing this is a powerful practice on the journey to have our perceptions and paradigms be open and welcoming to all people. I invite us to move into a time of prayer. If you're comfortable, close your eyes. Take that sacred breath. Religions across the planet synonymously talk about how breath and the divine are one. As we breathe, it can crack open the door to the godness inside of you and the godness all around you. As I notice this exquisite energy flowing through who I am, I behold this same energy with your flavor. Every person has a different flavor. Every person has a different internal essence of the divine. I invite you to breathe into your particular flavor of the divine right now, in this now moment. As this godness flows through all of who I am, as this godness flows through everybody on this Zoom and everybody watching this recording, I call this sacred. I call this a miracle that people can get present in the moment. See, when we take that breath and we notice that exquisite infinite energy inside of us, it is a blessing. It is a powerful gift to ourselves and all people around us. And I claim this context, this beautiful infinite field as the foundation for this prayer, I invite all of us moving forward to take the breath when we notice internal judgments arising, when we notice those internal labyrinth walls about other people coming to the forefront. Take that breath. Get present in the moment. Invite forward your light and your love and your exquisite godness. Behind all this prayer is that one mind, that mixture of love and law. The love moves through the law and energizes it. And I claim this as the context for this prayer. And I release this prayer into that energized law, into that beautiful, exquisite love. This prayer was done even before I uttered one word. And I invite us to say together, and so it is. Take that breath, come back to the present moment. CSL Boulder Valley functions powerfully when people contribute to it. Contribute money, contribute their volunteer work. When people share their abundance with CSL Boulder Valley, there's an integral cycle that comes back to us. What we give comes back to us. I invite you to give generously to CSL Boulder Valley. Let's say our offering affirmation together. This perfect gift is spirit in form, circulating and blessing all it touches. Freely I give, and joyously I receive. And so it is. On the bottom of the newsletter and at the bottom of our website, there are 4 different ways to give to CSL Boulder Valley. Another way is you can come to our in-person services that we have on the 2nd Sunday and the 4th Sunday of the month. I'm going to stop the screen share now. And I'm going to stop the recording.